So do you ever join in on one of those fights and duels, and you're like, what is this loser doing, man? He's actually picking a red imp? Like, what kind of amateur hour is this? What kind of low-level duels are we dealing with that he's going to pick a red imp and then a Kenko? A red imp and a Kenko? Please. And then we're going to move on to a Maestro. Okay, I guess that's a semi-common unit. But no attack booster, so... And then there's a Shiki, because we all know that there's a ton of those in the top tiers. A Yumakui? Really? Who actually uses that? So what if I told you for just a moment that this isn't an amateur fight? This is actually one of the top players in the server. As a matter of fact, we're talking about a player who has landed in the top 10 last week. If you happen to be paying attention to the boards, you might notice that F2P NCC is one of the top players in the game right now, and he's doing it with this team. This is a crazy team. I mean, just look at the order that he's built out here. So obviously this is very speed reliant, right? So you need to make sure that your Maestro is super fast. And what's nice about Maestro is he has one of the highest base speeds in the game, allowing him to outspeed a lot of people. So let's take a quick look while the battle's actually going on here, what's actually happening. So he's already started off with Maestro going first, and then he's going to have given his turn to Yumakui, who will then sleep everyone. And then, you know, he'll use the red imp to get any sort of provocation in. Now, the red imp has a very specific reason for using that instead of Samurai X, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but just know that he is, for the moment, a second form of DPS. And then we're looking at Kenko, and that's like, why Kenko? Like, there's so many better DPS. Well, if most of you have been out there in duels, you'll notice a special little friend called Hidasume. And if you're like me, he is the bane of your existence. So what if you could have a damage dealer who doesn't have to attack at all until the moment he's ready to? Kenko is uniquely one of the few Shikigami in this game that is capable of doing that. So as you can see, he's carefully choosing all of his turns. And this is supposed to be a speed cleave team he's against, and they're not getting a single turn. He's eating up all of this, just absolutely sleeping every one of these guys. This is absolutely crazy to watch, and it's a lot of fun. If you want a team that anyone can build, this is it. I mean, you're going to have to work hard on your speed for your speed souls for Maestro, right? But anyone can get these. These are not hard. You're talking about, at most, you have 2 SR units. The other 3 are 2 Rs and a normal, an N. He locked the entire team down. The entire team got locked down for that. So before we move on to that next one, let's go ahead and actually take a look at what we're actually working with free-to-play NCC's team. So he actually has a few interesting units here. One moment. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at Kagura's abilities that he's using here. So Butterflies actually has a few different roles that it fills. First off, one of the main things that you're going to be worrying about in this particular build is you're going to be doing your best not to put out damage when you don't want to. You want to keep everything CC'd for as long as possible. That means having abilities that don't do any damage, and Butterflies does help to alleviate that. The other thing that Butterflies helps with is any sort of healing. This is meant to be a build that's going to work against almost any team out there, and part of that is making sure that you have some sort of counter to healing. So Butterflies is going to prevent some of that healing. In addition to that, there's a chance to hypnotize, which is just additional chances to CC them. But one of the other things that is gone as not being noticed here, one of the biggest problems that you're going to have in dealing with high-level teams is they're going to start using Amionas. And Amionas have 2 different problems that they pose. One is the ability to cleanse their own teammates, but specifically it's going to be to CC them. And while we'll worry about how you actually CC an Amiona in just a moment, we want to draw attention to their ability to cleanse. if we want to keep as much stuff slept as long as possible, it's always possible that they'll get a cleanse off. And if that happens, you want to make sure you're stacking debuffs. If you're stacking those debuffs, then you're going to be able to possibly cause her to waste it on the healing debuff and not on the sleep that you do not want removed. Alright, so that's one. What's another one here? So Storm is a very common unit that you will see, or a skill that you'll see put to use in PvP. What's interesting in F2P NCC's team is that he actually will use it to give Kenko a bunch of turns whenever he's not using Storm, to specifically make sure that certain units are going at specific times. And we'll take a look at that in a couple of examples, but it's interesting to see him pumping up Kenko's damage using this when he has nothing better to use it on. And the resource between both of these skills being 2 turns on cooldown each means that he's going to be able to continue using them alternatively. Okay, so Kenko. This guy is really interesting. Before we actually talk about his stats a lot, let's actually talk about what he does as a Shikigami and why he's so important for this particular build. So up on the screen right now, you'll see that there is an ability on there called Bamboo Shelter. And Bamboo Shelter is what makes Kenko be the opportune unit to be able to take out these teams, especially with Hitasume so high in the meta right now. Because every team has so many Hitasumes, it's really shredding a lot of damage dealers. This is one way to make sure that all those people using Hitasumes are wasting their time. So with Bamboo Shelter, Kenko is going to hide inside of his bamboo shoot for every turn. And it costs, in addition to this, right, it costs 0 orbs, which means you are actively choosing not to do any damage, which means that you're not taking any damage from Hitasume. And in addition to that, you're not eating up orbs, right? That's hard to be able to do, is not attack and not eat any orbs. And in addition to that, he is going to continue to pump his damage. So he's basically going to sit there and keep biding his time until he has enough damage built up that he can just one-shot someone. And that's important for doing this, because you're going to want to make sure that he is capable of one-shotting someone every once in a while, and it will take a long time to get there. So these are souls that NCC runs on him, and this is the stats that you're kind of wanting to shoot for, or at least this is what he's shooting for, being number 7 in duels on the server right now. And here's his Maestro. So again, the key thing here is speed. It is always very important to try to make sure you're getting top speed whenever possible. He's not concerned about which souls he's using, obviously. The main thing is just whatever your fastest souls are, that's going to be what you use. And then you're just kind of take a look at what his stats are. The big important thing about Maestro is his ability to grant a turn to someone. In addition to that, give speed to the rest of your team. And on top of that, he has one of the highest base speeds in the entire game. It's super important to make sure that you're keeping an eye on him as one of your possible units. It's really interesting, his choice of Maestro over any sort of attack bar pushback that does AoE, or any sort of a unit that would actually use an attack bar booster like Yama or Kama. Okay, so next we have Red Imp, and this is the weird one in the entire thing, because you're like, Red Imp, that's why? It's so weird. Well, the thing is that Red Imp has a very, very unique provoke. And the reason why I say that is that he actually has a built-in transformation mechanic. And so I'm going to pull that up on the screen right now. So as you can see, the ability that Red Imp has that's so important is Provocation. It uses a lesser amount of orbs, and in addition to that has that anger mechanic that actually manages to be considered a transformation. And what that does is it means that Amayonas, specifically the reason why Red Imp is in this particular group, are not able to cleanse the provoke that he puts on her, which means that she's not able to cleanse the rest of the team, and therefore she is CCable that way. If you're looking for a way to keep Amayona under check, Red Imp is going to be your one you want to go for. Okay, so here's the unit in the group that you see very rarely, except When we did Royal Battles, everyone seemed to understand exactly how useful Yumakui is. And Yumakui needs to be one of the core units of this team, and it needs to be a very high effect hit in order to make sure that you're sleeping as much as possible. So here's take a quick look at his stats. And another important mechanic to know about with Yumakui is that he is going to do a minor amount of healing when he's actually CCing the rest of the teams. And that's important because he's actually going to be useful in keeping the red imp up as he's starting to take damage. The Zashiki is fairly common. It's exactly what you'd expect it to be on Fortune Cat, at least for PvP and not Azure Bosun. This is going to be something that is not really altogether that surprising for you. But yeah, it's a necessary battery to be able to keep this very skill-intensive team running. Okay, so we have all of this. Now you have all this information that you've been armed with here, so you know kind of what we're dealing with, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at another fight. And now that we have kind of an idea of what we're looking at, we can kind of see where this really starts to come into play. So with this one, you're going to see that he's going to get the first turn with Maestro. From there, he's going to need to make sure that everyone gets slept. And I wanted to choose this particular video of one of the ones he showed me is because we have to deal with a Hito in this group. Hitos are the ones that are causing a bunch of problems for everyone trying to do cleave teams or any sort of real damage. So what he's going to do here is keep Hito completely useless because Kenko's not going to be attacking, and he's going to be reserving any damage he needs to deal until he needs to take one big shot. So let's watch. First turn, he's going to switch over, and he's going to give the turn. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I was completely misread that. And this is one of the reasons why he is number 7 on the server, and I'm, way, way, way back. What he did here is he took a look at his progressive meter to see where Yumakui actually fit in, and he saw that he already beat him. So instead of having to give Yumakui the turn, he's going to start off by giving Kenko the turn immediately and allowing Kenko to start building up that damage. So now Kenko is starting to build up the damage, and he's taking his turn. Everyone except... So it looks like... Okay, so it does look like he has Utengu, who is not crowd controlled, which is obviously one of the biggest problems he has right now. So I assume at this point he's now going to crowd control him. Oh, he did not. That's interesting. So Channel Storm. So now he is at the point where... Oh, he was out of orbs, I believe. Let me go back and actually check. So he crowd controlled everyone. He had the 2 orbs, but he didn't. Interesting. I don't know why he did that, but in this particular case, it's going to work out for him. He's going to Channel Storm here again. Oh, he already knew exactly what his turn order was going to be. So he's going to Storm, I'm going to guess, into Yumakui. So he bamboo shelters again. Oh, okay. So he was not worried about Utengu's speed. Utengo is still way back. And so now he has everyone except Saimai crowd controlled. So let's see what he does with that. So he's currently thinking about provocation. And he provokes... Interesting, they chose to provoke Hito. And Yumakui can obviously attack anyone while they're asleep and not have them wake up. Alright, so Maestro again, he gives Kenko a turn. So he keeps giving... The main goal appears to be making sure that wherever possible, he's giving Kenko a turn. And that requires paying a lot of attention to where the turn meter is over here. And knowing exactly when everyone else is going to be moving. So his main goal is trying to take down the shield without doing much. So he's again giving Kenko the turn. And he had to use Kenko's shell in order to take down the protect. So again, a use of that provoke to try to keep everyone under lock. And Yumakui again to sleep. And he's going to give the turn to Kenko again, so he's going to continue to go into his shelter. And so that's the main trick of this type of thing, is he's going to do his very best to try to make sure that he's keeping Kenko under turns. Use of butterflies to make sure that he doesn't wake anyone up. Because hitting any one person at this time would wake all of them up. With the exception of Yumakui. So now that the link is down, he is likely going to be able to one-shot someone very soon here. Assuming everyone is crowd controlled, he's probably going to give another turn to Kenko. Chose not to in that situation, but okay, there's our Kenko turn. And now he's going to be able to kill it. 97,000 damage. Woo! That one's painful. And from this point on, it's just this. It's him going through and picking off individual people one at a time. So I'm going to drop the webcam out here and let the rest of the fight finish out without much commentary from myself. And we'll jump back in on the next one. Alright, so be right back. Okay, so that was another win, and those are kind of two of the fast versions, right? Those are those are going to be your quicker battles. So this is not a very quick team. This is about methodical choices, moving around the crowd control you have, knowing when to actually give turns to Yumakui and when to give them to Kenko, and keeping an eye on where the action meter is along the top, or on the side. So, those were those two. I have one final kind of fight to show you. This one takes a little while, and the reason why I want to show you is that this is an excellent use of working around lots of crowd control and lots of slow defensive builds. This one takes a little bit, but this will be the team that I feel is one of the hardest to take down and requires your absolute most attention. So let's go ahead and jump into that real quick here. The nice part about this, as I was talking to NCC, is he was saying, order doesn't matter that you upload these in. I assume he goes with Red Imp and then Kenko because it really throws off the other people as to what you're actually doing. But once you've actually gone through the first few units, the one that you need to make sure you save for last is whoever you're going to use for your CC. He happens to use Yumakui. Whatever you choose to use is fine. Though I would say that based on how he set this up, Yumakui is one of your best options. So Yumakui is his final option. He chooses Kagura as normal, and we'll go into this now. Okay, so as normal, he's going to make sure that Yumakui gets the first turn. He does see that Yumakui would not be the second one to go, so this time he is going to give the turn to Yumakui. Yumakui is then going to sleep. Now that he's slept, the important part is going to be Amayona. So she did try to cleanse. She got some of them off. And that's where a water circuit comes in. And now we have a problem of trying to do any damage. And we need to wait. Now this is the important part for Amayona. He wanted to make sure that no one else got a turn. So he had to go after Maestro. And now we're going to get another turn from Maestro. I suspect he's giving it to Yumakui again. Or no, Yumakui is actually going to be going. So he's now stuck with an issue where Yumakui and Kenko are both going to go. But, okay, and he did give it to Yumakui, because if Yumakui goes now, Kagura might be able to give him another turn. His biggest problem right now is a lack of orbs. Okay, so there we go. That's exactly what he went for. Now the problem here is that Amayona is going to cleanse the sleep off of herself. And this is the biggest problem that you're going to have, is dealing with Amayonas. And this is exactly why the Red Imp is in this group. So luckily, Shootin' Doji is still asleep. And he once again put a provoke on Maestro. I assume because it is very dangerous to allow him to take a turn. And it looks like he gave the turn to Red Imp again, because now he wants to get the provoke on Amayona and stop her from doing any more dispels. I'm assuming he's looking through his order as to what's actually the best choice. And he does end up going with that. So now we'll see if he can keep Amayona provoked the rest of this fight, because she's not able to cleanse that particular provoke. He doesn't have the orb, so he'll just be doing a regular attack. That's a rough hit to take. And so as you can see, there's not a lot of room. Although I will say that most of his units here are fairly low level. They don't need to be high level. The only one who needs to be high level is Kenko for extra damage. So butterflies again to keep any healing down and to give a buffer for any sort of cleansing. And I believe he wants to try to provoke. He's trying to decide if he can get away with a provoke here. Okay, so he did go with the Onmyoji. And so again, he's trying to decide if he has enough damage or if he needs to keep Kenko in the bamboo shelter. I will tell you that he does keep him in there for a little while after having watched this fight already. And so it's just going to be about trying to continue to build up Kenko's stacks at this point now that he's starting to get everyone CC'd. And again, using that red imp to make sure that he provokes Onmyoji. An interesting choice. So he wanted that single provoke. Okay. He knew that he only had 2 orbs, so there's no way he could do anything with Yumakui. So now he has orbs, gives a turn to Yumakui again, and sleeps as many as possible. And an interesting choice to go with the Zashiki. He's keeping an eye on his orb management to make sure that he's getting the right amount of orbs to make the choices that are going to be right for him. I assume in this case he'll provoke Maestro. Yep. And the only thing that's going to keep Red Imp alive here is the fact that Yumakui is giving some health back when he puts everyone to sleep. And it's just barely going to keep him alive. And again, he made sure that he provoked Onmyoji so that when she cleanses asleep, she can't cleanse a provoke. And if you look, a bulk of his units, his opponent's units, have not been able to actually act. And that's what this is about, is controlling everything. And now he's chosen to finally kill one. And he's taken out the big threat, the one thing that could actually one-shot anything in his group. So now it's time for him to continue locking him down and making sure he can get what needs to be done. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it with the rest of this finishing out and letting you guys watch. I don't think my commentary can really help out much more at this point. You've gotten a rough idea of what it should look like. So let's go ahead and let him finish out the rest of his battle, and we'll finish up after that.
Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love. have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love, you say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Alright, guys. There it is. That is the Lullaby team from F2P NCC. I want to thank F2P NCC for sending me this footage and telling me about this team that he used to get to number 7 last week, so that he hopes that everyone else will be able to do the same. He really wants to push for lots of new metas and lots of new ideas to come out in the community, and I think this is a really interesting build that anyone can make. So again, thank you F2P NCC for this. I hope that you guys learned something and maybe got some ideas for your own teams, or maybe you're going to try this out. I would love to see a new meta that's able to start beating on all those Hitos out there. Alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. In the meantime, if you did like this one, please give me a like. Otherwise, give me a dislike. Leave a comment in the bottom and tell me what you thought. Alright, bye guys.